This week could be the critical week in the debate over the Confederate flag in South Carolina. Saturday afternoon, the South Carolina Statehouse was the site of an NAACP rally at which more than 1,000 people came on out to call for the state to remove the flag that flies on the Statehouse grounds. Tomorrow, South Carolina lawmakers are set to begin debating about the future of that flag, and a recent survey of those legislators is giving some indication of what that vote might be and what that future might be. When asked about how they intended to vote, at least 33 senators and 83 House members in the South Carolina legislature said the flag should come down, a consensus which appears to meet the two-thirds majority required for both chambers to remove the flag. Joining me now from Charleston is South Carolina State Representative David Mack III. Representative, good to see you. You know, you look at the polling data. Do you agree with what it's suggesting? Will this happen? Is it pretty much on par?
We're hopeful, we're prayerful that the numbers will hold up. Of course, with this horrendous tragedy in Charleston, what has happened, it has moved people emotionally. And what's interesting about this, Richard, is that the call for the flag did not come from the Legislative Black Caucus of the NAACP. We were too caught up in our pain and our grief and our agony, anger with what has happened, what happened with the tragedy. But what has happened is that Republican legislature, the business community, the governor, the people that were not necessarily for it coming down to begin with, they have led the charge. So we are very, very hopeful that beginning debate tomorrow, we can get this done.
You know, Representative, we did have many from those communities that you discussed and on MSNBC, and they were very clear. This is a time for mourning, of remembering those who were lost. And when asked that question, they were very clear that that was the focus. And so you're right. It's coming, it seems, from a very wide group of constituencies there in South Carolina as we look at what's happening. So what is going to be next? When you look at this, what are the arguments that you might expect to hear from both sides this coming week in the legislature when it's being taken up?
Well, you know, I've gotten materials, so I'm sure all of the legislators have gotten materials from the Sons of the Confederacy making the argument that this is really heritage as opposed to hate. Pardon me. But I think the key element is what that flag means. We have a lot of in my opinion, very bad monuments throughout the state of South Carolina that reminds us of slavery. Things named after Ben Tillman, Wade Hampton, John C. Calhoun. They're bad enough, but when you fly a flag, that means whatever flag you fly, it represents you, what you are now. That's what makes this flag so problematic. Flying on the State House grounds.
Have voters told you that too, Representative? Have voters, your constituents, said that to you?
Well, I think the number has grown. I think there has always been a significant segment in the state of South Carolina that have felt that way. But with this tragedy that has happened in Charleston, it has moved people emotionally, and I'm hopeful, prayerful that emotion will turn into a true commitment. I love the definition of commitment, being that commitment is what you do after the emotion is gone. So according to the numbers, we are hopeful that we can get this done, that enough people are committed in the House and the Senate to get this done.
All right, thank you so much, State Representative David Mack III from Charleston, South Carolina. Have a great rest of your weekend. And another sign of growing public opposition to the Confederate flag, Daytona International Speedway is offering to exchange any Confederate flag for an American flag for those attending today's race. NASCAR has already asked fans to refrain from displaying the Confederate flag at its races, but stop short of an all-out ban. The flag has been common at NASCAR races for decades, but has recently been criticized by racing superstars like Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Jeff Gordon.